Welcome to the Bass and Brews podcast, your weekly distraction from other high-quality podcasts. And now, your host, Alex from Swamp Rat Fishing, and the co-hostess with the mostest, the Jabberhammer, Paul Roberts.
Hey-oh! Look at here, y'all. If you're listening and not watching, we're missing somebody very important tonight. Luckily, it's not our guest, because even though he feels a little under the weather, he is still here. But Alex is not, because he's got a 102-degree temperature. He feels like shit, he said. And I tried to at least get him to come on for the first 5 minutes so we could revel in his misery and see how bad he felt, and he declined. So y'all make sure you go give him all the shit in the world about not at least coming on for the first 5 minutes. He deserves it. He earned it, no matter how bad he feels. Because our guest tonight sucked it up. He took some Pedialyte, he took some acetaminophen, and he's here, and we're ready to roll. This episode is going to be a good one. I wish Alex was here, but he's not, so we're not going to mention his name the rest of the podcast unless short jokes come up, and then we're going to have to do it. But tonight, we got Trever, a.k.a. Lo, ho, in the house from Omnia Fishing. Trever, do you go by Trever or Lo? What do I call you the rest of the night?
You call me whatever you want. I mean, around the office, it's Lo. My mom calls me Trever. My wife calls me, hey.
Okay, so you just said I could call you whatever I want. You done opened a paradigm of shifts.
Yeah, after I said that, I kind of like winced, and I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But
I know, I feel like you kind of got set up
you
to come on this podcast because we got a message through Instagram. And I can't remember the name because Alex runs Instagram, from somebody at Omnia that said, they wanted to have you on, and then we got connected through email. And so I feel like maybe they have listened to an episode or two, and they're like, hey, man, we got you set up to go for a podcast on Bass and Brews. And here's the email. Y'all set up the time and date, and we did it. And you're here with a big smile on your face. And I'm really excited for this because it's going to be good for a lot of reasons. And I don't know the reasons yet. We'll figure them out at the end of the podcast.
Yeah, I think that was probably our head of marketing, Matt Hamilton.
Yeah.
Yep. So we've been, as we'll get into later on, we've got a new app subscription that we've launched with the Omnia app. But we've been kind of wanting to, make our rounds and showcase this. And, he'd made that initial introduction and just kind of said, all right, here's the handoff. You guys take it from here. So, coming into tonight, I didn't really know what we were going to be getting into or what I was getting myself into or what I was thrown into. But, it's good to be here. I wish, we won't mention his name, was here. But I'm glad to be on the show with you tonight, Paul.
Yeah, you definitely got thrown into something. I'm not sure what yet. We'll see where it goes. But you actually said you got handed off, and so through email we talked about fantasy football, and you said, hey, I might have one eye on my fantasy football team. We started a little early, and partly for that was because of football, right? And then me and you had a conversation about football, but I want you to think of a little league football game where you have a bunch of 12-year-olds, and there's one 12-year-old that's playing linebacker on the other team, and he's that 6 foot, 220-pound 12-year-old, and you're the running back, and the quarterback hands you the ball to dive through the A gap, and he comes unblocked and hits you at full force. And you're a 12-year-old, an average 12-year-old. So you're like 4'3", about Alex's size. And the 6 foot, 220-pound 12-year-old gets a free running start about 8 yards from you and hits you when you get the ball. That's what Bass and Brews is going to be for you tonight, buddy.
Hey, everybody has their welcome to the NFL moment. I think I need that welcome to Little League football moment. So I'm here. I'm ready for it. I'll take the punches as they come.
All right, man. Good deal. So you're with Omnia Fishing. Omnia Fishing. I know Omnia Fishing mainly from the Serious Angler podcast with Bailey and Captain Andrew and Deacon and the crowd over there. And I downloaded the app. I can't remember when I downloaded the app. I bought a couple things from there. I'm not a gearhead when I fish, and a lot of times, like, I like to buy my stuff in person. But I did buy a bunch of swim heads from there, and so I've piddled around on the Omnia site and all. And then this last episode you're on with Serious Angler last week, y'all came up with some really interesting improvements and new stuff on the app. So what I did after that episode, I went to my app, and the first thing that popped up in the little left-hand corner was subscribe. I think it was something like that. Anyway, I went and got my subscription, and I started diving into it. But it's pretty damn awesome. Like, I'm excited for it. Like, because I'm a cheap ass. And so I'm for the folks that know, I'm down here in Jordan, Sharon Harris. So I've got the old legacy maps that I downloaded on the old app, and I uploaded them onto my graph. So when I go anywhere else, I've got the auto chart plotting on for my Humminbird, and that's how I get my stuff. But I went and dove into that today, in the last couple of days. I'm like, damn, because you mentioned it, you put an iPad up and use that. And so that's what I've gotten, that got my mind turning here, and I'm really interested in it. But before we get into that, to start this podcast off, what is the journey that has got you here today in front of us on Bass and Brews? What is the journey?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So I don't know how familiar you are with my background. TLDR, I fished in the Bassmaster College Series back in 2015.
Oh, hey, real quick, what the fuck does TLDR stand for? I see it all the time. I have no damn idea what the hell that shit stands for.
Yeah, TLDR. I just got onto that not too long ago by a buddy of mine. It means too long didn't read. So if you've ever pulled up an article on Facebook, or somebody makes a super long post and it's like just paragraphs and paragraphs, and somebody at the bottom will just put like TLDR, too long didn't read, this is a quick summary of it.
So, our good buddy Jake Harshman, who is one of the Susquehanna Angler Hammers, we had him on before he had his tournament. It was the No Limit tournament, and he made this long ass Facebook post, and I hit more, and I had to scroll with my thumb like twice. And so I literally commented, "I'm not reading all this. I hope you did good."
Yeah, that's exactly what it's for. It's you've always got that one person in your friend group that just makes way too much of a comment, and you're just like, dude, just shorten it up. Like, it's not anything that I want to devote that much time into reading, but if you could summarize it, TLDR, good for me.
Yeah, for the folks that want to write novels for their fishing journeys, nobody fucking cares, especially the folks with ADHD. Like, we just want you to say, "Hey, I fished this weekend. I did shitty or I did good," and like post a picture of your best fish, and then call it good. And we appreciate that much more.
Yeah, I don't, you don't need to get into the intricacies of it too much. I think everybody's always willing to know what you caught them on, how deep you're fishing, what you're fishing. But when it comes down to trimming your skirt at a 45-degree angle, or trimming your brush guard down to from 20 strands of a brush guard to 8 strands, because it helps your 3/0 hook, get a better hookup ratio. It's like, dude, at the end of the day, nobody's going to be using that jig that you're using. They're going to use the one that they like, unless you're just some, jig maestro per se. But 100% agree with you on that.
There's something to say about a soft plastic with a certain colored fleck in it. But if I've got to catch a fish on a watermelon red, or a green pumpkin watermelon, or green pumpkin, or green pumpkin black, like, I'm not catching that fish. I'm colorblind as hell. So like, I buy green pumpkin, black, and blue. And then sometimes, if it's black and blue, that's close enough to black or blue to me. So yeah, I am not.
Yeah.
I don't care about the flex or the strands or any of that stuff. And sometimes it matters 100%. But in general, I'm usually not catching those fish unless I get lucky as hell.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Before Omnia, I was working at this tackle shop, and uh, I don't know how much you guys in North Carolina are doing walleye fishing, but walleye anglers in Minnesota are absolutely notorious for being just anal about their jig heads, and they'll be convinced. They'll come in and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a quarter ounce. It has to be a ball head jig with a gold hook, a red eye, and a black pupil." And it's just like he's convinced because the guy next to him that they were fishing on last weekend outfished him, 3 fish to one, 4 fish to one. You know what they're putting on that hook?
What?
Just a minnow. It's like, what difference does it make? You're throwing a minnow out there. That minnow's doing the whole thing. He was probably just in the right place at the right time. Like, does it really matter that you got the eye color against that jig head color and the hook color has to be this? It's just, yeah, I
Well,
digress. It drives me insane to hear that.
well, first off, you said you don't know how much walleye fishing we're doing in North Carolina. I can tell you, it's a firm zero. I'm pretty sure there ain't no damn walleye down here. Because we have never had a cheating scandal come from the South for walleye. And I know we all know the walleye cheating scandal, but I can
Yeah,
guarantee you if there were walleye in the South, the cheating scandals would be way worse and way more than the one that we all know about. There ain't no
yeah,
damn walleye down here, Hollis. We ain't
sure.
catching no damn walleye in the South. Well, let's back it up. What's the journey? What's the fishing journey that has brought you here to where you are today?
Yeah, so like I said, TLDR. Fished in the Bassmaster College Series back in the day, 2015. I grew up fishing. My dad introduced it to me as a kid. I fell in love with it. And I knew that I wanted to do some sort of fishing with my career. So I fished in the college series, and I ended up winning the whole thing in the first
Hmm.
year. So made it to the national championship, which was in Wisconsin, not too far from where I live, about 3 hours away, and then qualified. I finished my team, my partner and I, we finished second place in the national championship, and they moved us to the bracket tournament where they split you up individually. You fish one on one, and you beat the other competitor for that day. You move on to the next day and then the final day. So I ended up winning that whole bracket.
Hey, all right, real quick. So you and your teammate made it. You're fishing against other people. Are there two? Do you have somebody in the front of the boat, the back of the boat? How are we? How are we fishing this? Is it single boat?
Yeah. So you fish the college series as a team. Unless you
Mm-hmm.
don't have a partner, you can fish by yourself. But what they do is they take the top 4 teams from the national championship. So the first through fourth place. Then they provide boats for every single angler.
Mm.
And so there's 8 of you, and they bracket it out. So first place, first seed fishes against eight seed, 2, 7, so on and so forth. So you're fishing against one other competitor for a day. And if you beat that competitor, you move on to the next day. You beat that competitor, you move on to the final day. And then,
Okay, so
so
y'all get
I
your
ended up
the top eight. The top eight get their own boat, and you're fishing against everybody else. Okay.
correct. Yep. Yep. So they level the playing field. They provide boats just because, some guys don't have, uh, you know, super high end rigs, and other guys have, $100,000 rigs. So they level the playing field out that way. And yeah, it's pretty cool. So I ended up winning the whole thing. Qualified to fish the Bassmaster Classic in 2016 in Grand Lake, and I would say that was the biggest thing or the most instrumental thing into catapulting me right into the industry. Um, you start working with some big name companies. From the Bassmaster side, it was dynamic sponsorships. They handle everything with Toyota, Carhartt, Skeeter at the time, Yamaha. So you get to work firsthand with all these companies, understand how the industry works, how industry relationships are, and yeah, it was awesome. Kind of like a bird getting thrown out of the nest, and you got to fly. You better start flapping your wings and figuring it out. So I think that's kind of my story of how I got into the industry, and then yeah, just had those relationships with various companies and meeting other people at trade shows, ICAST, that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's just now here I am in Minnesota with Omnia, and it's been good. It's been really good. We're a small startup, but it keeps us busy, and we wear a bunch of different hats all at the same time. So I wouldn't want it any other way. I think if things got too stagnant, I would find myself twiddling my thumbs a little too much. So I enjoy this fast pace for sure.
I feel like we skipped a lot there, and I know you TRLD'd us, but what is your dad got you into fishing, and then you won the national championship, and you got to fish the opens. Like, we're missing a lot of shit between fishing the opens and that. Like, what state did you get started fishing in, and what was it like growing up fishing? Was it, hey, my dad likes to have a Zebco 33 and a damn, a corporate worm or a Cinco, and that's what we fished, and then I just took it to another level? Like, how did we get from my dad got me into fishing to us winning the national championship in college to going to the elites? Not the elites,
So
but the opens.
yep, yeah, it's completely crazy. It sounds like we missed a lot, but put it into perspective. Um, the Bassmaster Classic was the 12th tournament I had fished in my lifetime, and that's yeah, it's insane if you think, and that includes small local club derbies, Saturday morning pickups, like a Wednesday night or evening pickup. I mean, it includes those tournaments, and so it's
Where
not like,
was this though? Where was the high school fishing?
yeah. So at the time, there wasn't high school fishing in Minnesota, or at least it wasn't popular enough yet. And so in high school, so I guess backtracking a little bit more, I grew up. My dad played soccer, and he loves the outdoors. So my brother got the soccer side of things. I grew up playing soccer as well, but fishing and hunting was where the passion was at. The only thing is, at the time, there were no high school programs for fishing, and so I played soccer in high school. Senior year, ended up kicking for the football team, which was a lot more fun than playing soccer. Ayo. But yeah, so that's kind of how I got started. I don't come from a very well-to-do family, I would say. My dad and my mom immigrated here from Laos back in the 70s to 80s, during the Vietnam War. And so they came here as refugees, and they had to work hard and earn their living. I credit my dad big time on what he's accomplished here in the States, because he came here at the age of 13, graduated high school, so didn't know a lick of English, coming to the United States at 13 years old, graduated high school in 5 years, and finished top 3 in his class.
Wow.
So, and that's all just hard work and dedication. And so I credit my dad a lot to my success, and a lot of the things that he has brought me up in, raised me in, and the I guess the qualities and the characteristics that I have. So all that to say, we grew up loving fishing, but a lot of it was done from a canoe. So my dad and I didn't have a boat, so we would go pull my uncle's canoe out, almost every other day. As soon as I get out of school, we'd go run down to my uncle's house, borrow his canoe, take it out to, some small little 30-40 acre lake, and we would fish, and that's kind of how I got started fishing. Really understanding grass in Minnesota. We didn't even have a depth finder on the canoe. It was basically, how far does the anchor rope go down? Yeah, that kind of feels like 12 to 15 feet, and so that's how we got started fishing. And obviously, the easiest thing to tie on for everybody when they're beginners is Senko, so cinnamon brown was the color.
Yes.
Are you familiar with the Ike, like the Ike worm, or the icon worm or something like. I can't remember what it's.
Well, no, the cinnamon brown is something. I'm a little bit older than you, so there wasn't no cinnamon brown back then. Like we had regular colors. We didn't have all this shit. But the
Yeah.
cinnamon brown is something that works really good down here in the South. That reddish, and I'm again colorblind, so that reddish, brownish, blackish. It fits in down here where I grew up in South Carolina. We have a lot of the tannic water, so it fit in with the June that red shad and June bug.
Yep.
You kind of mixed them together, and that's what you got with the cinnamon brown, somewhere in that range. So I'm familiar with it from that aspect, but I do love a good cinnamon brown Berkeley stick bait. So yeah,
for sure. Yeah, so I mean that's how we got started. That's how we got started fishing, and I fell in love with it. Catching bass was all I wanted to do, and so when it came down to picking colleges, I had three colleges in mind. The first was Virginia Tech, because Virginia Tech was number one in the country at the time for their bass fishing team. North Carolina State was the second team because
go Heels.
Sorry.
Go to Hell State.
So, the reason for that, I have family down in North Carolina, so they're in Hickory, Conover.
Yeah,
if you know where that is. Yep.
Oh yeah, I was not far from there. I was in Brevard this past weekend. I'm very familiar with the Hickory area.
Okay. Yeah. So that was college choice number 2, and college choice number 3 was University of Minnesota, which was just kind of a fallback safety net school if I couldn't get into the other two. I got accepted in all 3, but I wanted to stay local and not move away. So I ended up staying at the U of M, and it's funny because when I reached out to the guy that ran the club at the U of M at the time, I reached out and said, "Hey, I'm an incoming freshman. I've got a boat, blah, blah, blah. I want to get plugged in with you guys." And
was this a canoe? Was your boat still a canoe with a trolling?
No, I spent all my graduation party money that I received on a new boat, and
see,
I think I had
smart.
like three. Yeah,
that's
I had
smart.
like $3,000. Yeah, so I had $3,000, and I bought a little Skeeter. It was like a 17-footer with a 90 horse. And yeah, I thought I was the coolest cat in the world. Had my 2-wheel drive up in the winter, Silverado with a little 17-foot Skeeter. I was pond hopping, fishing every day during the summer. I just thought I was the baddest dude on the planet. And so I reached out to this dude at the U of M, and I said, "Hey, I'd love to get plugged in with you guys. When are you guys having your meeting for the year? How do I join the club?" And he responded, "Well, there's really no way to join the club, but you can go like our Facebook page." And I was so mad, I was so mad at this guy because it was like I turned down 2 different colleges
with real bass fishing clubs, like with real clubs.
Yeah, to come fish here, and I was so upset by that. And at that point, I had already accepted, got admission to the U of M and everything like that. So it was like I couldn't just back out and go pick another school.
All right, this is Bass and Bruce. I'm going to interrupt you during your talking here because that's what I do on this podcast, and Alex sitting here to mute me. But this is like turning into the bass fishing story of Michael Jordan. I mean, almost. You didn't make it to you didn't make it to the elites and win the elites. But man, from a college standpoint, this is kind of sounding like a little Michael Jordan story here, where the man was like, "Oh, yeah, this Chuckle Nuts is talking about coming and joining us. He's only got a 17-foot, 90 horsepower skater. Hell no." And then here you are, you take them to the national championships, you put them on your back and you carry them. So anyway, we got the Michael Jordan of the 2015 college fishing national championships here.
Yeah, it was, there was a lot of, hurdles. Like I said, when you put all your eggs into one basket and you just get completely turned away, I was feeling pretty dejected, and it wasn't a good feeling. I was kind of upset and bitter about it, and I just figured let's just make the most of this. I'll fish locally, I'll get plugged in with some local tournaments and try to do whatever I can in that regard. And so I went to my first year at the U. Then I transferred out to a community college. And just out of curiosity, after my second year of college, I looked back at the team, and it's funny because with the way that I had that interaction with that one guy, I was like, I wonder how they're doing. Are they even doing good? In the college series and this and that. And I found out that that guy has transferred out. You know, and so I was like, you know what? Let me reach out again, just for giggles. And I reached out, and this time I met my partner Chris, my fishing partner Chris, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, come to our meeting, blah blah blah, this and that. We'd love to have you." So I transferred back to the U of M. Uh, you know, we got all registered for the tournaments and everything like that. And at this point, I had upgraded to a new boat. So now I've got a 20-foot Skeeter, 225, graphs in the front and the back, everything you would need at that time.
So
So
you were winning some local tournaments then, huh?
no,
Is
I
that is
was
it? You just working, making money. You weren't fishing. You weren't winning no
yeah,
tournaments. You weren't winning any boats. You bootstrapped it.
yeah, I was on the grind, and that's, like I said, that's all I know. If I want something, I work hard for it. That's what my dad and my mom have always taught me. And I think the thing that helps with that is a lot of kids at that age, they're out partying, having a good time, going out to the bars and this and that. And you blow a lot of money buying alcohol at the bars, and that's not really my scene. I don't mind going out, hanging out with friends, but if I need to go spend 70 bucks a round for my guys, and I do that 3, 4 times a night, and we do that, 2 times a week, that's a lot of money that adds up. So I just ended up, it's nice to not have too many hobbies, because then you can devote a lot of money towards one hobby. And that's exactly what I did. So I got a new boat. Um, and it's funny because I picked up this boat in the fall, the year prior to the first my first season in the college series. So that would have been fall of 2014. And so then we go down to Kentucky Lake in May for the first tournament of the year for the college series. So I'm super stoked. I've never fished outside of Minnesota, Wisconsin. I get to go fish a southern man-made reservoir. We don't have those up here. So I'm like, I can't wait to go catch 5s and 6s and 7-pounders on ledges and this and that. But it's
And
like,
that's and,
it's
and
funny.
Kentucky Lake is still Kentucky Lake at the time too in 2014.
Yeah,
Like it's the
100%.
shit.
Yeah, that's that KVD ledge domination deal,
Hmm.
6XD, 10XD, 8XD, that sort of deal. And so I get out there, it's May. I'm gung ho about trying to catch them on ledges, but I know they're not on ledges. I went and bought like 8-inch, 10-inch flutter spoons and this and that, even though I know I'm going to be fishing in the back of creeks, right? And we get out there, and it was like the second day of practice. So we had 3 days of practice. Second day of practice, 3-footers, nothing crazy, 3-footers, and go back on the trailer, and there's cracks running down the entire hull, like vertical cracks. Like,
Mm.
I mean, the boat is like destroyed. And I was panicking, I was away from home. I don't know what's going on with the boat. I called my dad. I cried my eyes out because I had spent, about $20,000 on this boat. And I was like, Dad, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why the boat's all destroyed, this and that. And
Was it,
he's like, son, just go ahead.
was it through the gel coat, or was it just like spider cracks into the gel coat?
Oh, it was through the gel coat,
Oh
everything.
shit!
Yeah.
Oh
So
shit!
the entire the top cap
Yeah.
has separated from the bottom cap.
Oh, God.
And
Were you
so,
taking on water?
yes, yep. And the
Oh
auto
my
build was
god!
pumping it out. But so, I called my dad, bawled my eyes out because it's just a complete disaster, train wreck. Everything leading up to finally getting to fish for the U of M, and the first event before the event even starts. The boat's
Mhm.
falling apart, and my dad's like, son, keep your head up. If you can fish out of the boat, fish out of it. the way it is. We'll deal with it when you get back, right? And so we did that. And the final day of practice, probably last hour of practice, I hit a flooded house foundation in the back of a creek, blew the lower unit. And it was just like one thing after the next, and we ended up fishing that tournament with a trolling motor, Kentucky Lake. Good luck fishing a tournament on Kentucky Lake with just the trolling
You
motor,
had
right?
a 20-foot. You had the first ever 20-foot Skeeter kayak.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, with no paddles. But yeah, so it was just a mess, and I was just so disappointed, and down, and so with this boat, I ended up just fishing out of it, got the lower unit replaced, ended up fishing out of it and everything like that for the college series. And like I said, we fished lacrosse for the regional qualifier, qualified for nationals, fished nationals, made it to the classic. So that boat I call my lucky lemon is because it turns out that, I did some research, I did some digging on the history of this boat, and it was a pros boat back in the day. Came from Shreveport, Louisiana, based on the title and all the registration and everything like that. It was totaled in an accident. Insurance company took it, sold it to another guy who said he would repair it. This guy just covered up all the damage with some 3M Bondo and everything like that. And me being a young kid, seeing a boat for a great price, and was just like, man, you don't really know what to look for. You're just kind of starstruck when you see this boat, and you're on cloud nine because it's like, holy cow, a very newish boat. It's not super old. It's 20 grand. It comes with a 225. It's a 20-footer. It's got everything you want on it. And yeah, and I just, my eyes were kind of glazed over, and I ended up buying a boat that was structurally not sound. So but nonetheless, like my dad said, keep your chin up. Just do what you should be doing as a person, and just continue to fish and make the most out of it. And I think I was rewarded for that. Making the most out of a bad situation. And so yeah, I call that boat my lucky lemon. I ended up selling it to a guy who actually fixed it.
I was going to
He's a
ask if you
fiberglass.
still had it, since it was your
Yeah.
lucky lemon. If it was sitting in the backyard right now with a cover over it, and you just go out every now and again, like, I love you, but you've gone out to pasture, baby. You're out here forever.
Yeah.
I will always love you, but you are dead.
Yeah. No, I sold it to a guy in Wisconsin, and
But over there where the air
yeah,
is bad.
yeah, that's right. I tell my wife that every time we cross the bridge, come back to Minnesota. It's like, sweetheart, you smell that? That's greatness,
I told you I take offense to that because, contrary
Yeah.
to the accent, I got a lot of Wisconsin in me. My grandma was from Wisconsin, Cedar Lake area. And so,
Okay.
yeah, I'm Wisconsin. Y'all people don't be joking on me now. I ain't never been up there well, I've been up to Michigan, but I ain't never been to Wisconsin, but I've been close.
Close. You could probably smell Wisconsin from from Michigan.
I don't know. It's kind of hard because Michigan is a stank ass state too.
But yeah, so I ended up selling the boat to a guy. He's a fiberglass repair guy, so he actually fixed the boat up. And yeah, it's as far as I know, he's still running it, and it runs good for him. So yeah, that's kind of my college series story. I haven't told it in a while, and those are kind of all the little intricacies and details of it.
What lake did you win the national championship on?
Oh man, so the national championship was on Lake Dubay. So we technically didn't win that. We took second. But we qualified for the bracket tournament. Lake Dubay is on the Wisconsin River. It's one of the pools on the Wisconsin River. So we fished that, something like 80 teams in that tournament. And on day one, 45 of them skunked. It was just a horrible fishery. And I think the reason that, Bassmaster went there is because at the time, UW Stevens Point, which was the host school, had one of the largest teams in the country. So it was helpful to them to have a bunch of hands, volunteering for that to help the whole thing run smoothly. And it's a good draw for Wisconsinites to come and see bass fishing per se. But yeah, we fished Lake Dubay and it was garbage, absolute trash. There's no other way to sugarcoat it. At the time, it was a 3 fish limit. And I mean, I think,
and there were still half of the teams had skunks.
Yeah, like I said,
Damn
it was a
boy.
3 fish limit, and maybe 7 or 8 teams caught a limit on day 1. I mean, the fishing was horrendous. We practiced however many days, 4 or 5 days, and we caught 2 keepers in practice. Like bad fishing, just absolutely garbage. And so it's funny because you fish this whole stretch of river, and you're running all over the place. And in practice, we saw there's a big dam at the north end of Lake Dubay. But there's huge buoys that keep out no fishing or keep out blah blah blah. And we kept on looking at it throughout practice, like running water, current. The rest of Lake Dubay is very stagnant. The current doesn't really run through there very very fast. And we knew that a lot of this would be a smallmouth derby. So we asked the tournament director the night before the tournament started, hey, there's a big dam at the north end. Can we fish that? And he, because there's big buoys that say, keep out, no boats allowed. And he goes, yeah, you can fish it. Those are just liability buoys. Those are buoys there so that if somebody gets hurt in the dam, they can't be held liable because they have the buoys there that say, don't come in here. But you got to wear your life jacket at all times when you're fishing there, even if the big motor's not running. So we're like, okay, cool. So day 1 of the tournament starts. We start fishing, and it's the way it has been in practice. It sucks. We fished 2-3 hours and not a single bite. And we just kept looking at that dam, and I looked at Chris and I was like, dude, you want to go in there? He's like, all right, let's roll in, So we rolled in. We caught 3 fish in 15 minutes, and we were just to the moon, super excited. Got in there, caught our fish, got out. But there were 2 boats that saw us go in there. And then about 30 minutes to an hour later, we get this mass text from Bassmaster to all the anglers in the field. The Mosinee Dam is open for fishing. You must wear your life jacket. So those boats were like, these dudes are fishing in a place they can't fish. Yeah.
They're on a buoy bite, an illegal buoy bite.
Exactly. And so it's funny because on day 1, we're boat 13, right? So they flipped the order on day 2. Day 2, we're boat 67. We get up to the dam. We run up there as fast as we can. And there was like 10 boats. And I'm talking like the area is probably half the size of a football field. And we put 10 boats into that thing, just casting right at the spillway, where it comes in. And oh my goodness, it was just unbelievable how crowded it was. And we took the last spot on the left side. That's as far as, as much as we could inch in. And everybody so the first day we caught them on a jerk bait and a crankbait, and everybody just burning crankbaits and jerk baits and that sort of thing. So I was like, Chris, we got to change it up, give them something they're not seeing, because they're every which way. It's just jerk baits and crankbaits. I'm surprised nobody caught each other's lines with how many people were fishing that deal. And we pull out a shaky head and a drop shot. And we caught our limit right next to everybody else, and nobody else was pulling in fish. And since we're the farthest boat on the left, we'd set the hook.
That's right.
Turn this way
around. Hell yeah.
We walk them to the left side of the boat. We box them, and we got out of there. And so so that's how we fished that tournament. And unfortunately, we didn't win that. I think we were shy. We lost by a pound or something like that, because we only caught 2 on day 3. But
y'all made it into the bracket.
Yep. And so then they moved
bracket the same lake.
It's the same river system, but they move us down 1 pool.
Oh, that was good.
So
So everybody got a fresh start. Nobody, you got to have
yeah,
everybody sitting in in the dam with
yeah,
20 boats.
right, right. And so when they move you to a different pool, one, the fishing was so much better there. For some
Mm,
reason, you know, if you weren't catching numbers, you were doing something completely wrong, you know. And so we and when you only got 8 boats on a whole section of river, I mean, you don't even see the other competitors hardly.
mhm.
So the fishing was much better. Still a 3 fish limit, and I ended up, you know, winning. You know, there are two guys in that bracket tournament that are Elite Series guys right now. You know, so good friends
Who?
of mine. Tyler Rivette,
Mm,
so he won on Okeechobee this year in the Elite Series, and then Jake Whitaker is the other one, UNC Charlotte. So
Crib. Close enough. Crib. We'll call him Crib.
yep,
UNC. Go
yep,
Heels.
yep. So yeah, so those two guys, you know, they were in the bracket tournament with me. But yeah, I ended up winning the deal, and yeah, so fished the classic, fished the opens in 2016, and yeah, it's been a wild ride.
How the hell have you grown up in Minnesota and you don't sound like Seth Fighter or the preacher from King of the Hill that brought the lutefisk down that Bobby, helped his grandpa, or Bobby set the like, how the hell do you not sound Minnesotian?
I don't know. You know, there's some phrases that I say, oh yeah, you know, but I don't say oh yeah, you know. Oh yeah, you know, I don't say don't you know. I don't really say don't you know. I don't say you betcha. Um, Minnesota's Minnesota. It's not Minnesota, you know. So I don't draw out the O.
Do you call
Um,
all your friends boys? Hey boys, let's go get it. Like I cannot do a Minnesota accent. It ends up sounding Australian for some reason.
um, I kind of say fellas, you know,
Huh. Okay, that's
but
kind of country.
yeah, I think you know when say I'm Minnesotan by residency, but I'm really Southern at heart. I
Mm.
feel like, you know, I it's funny when I fished in the opens that year in 2016. I spent a lot of time down south, and y'all was beginning to be a big thing, a big word in my vocabulary. I still say y'all a lot.
Y'all look.
Yep, exactly. And the letter I, the long I, instead of saying I, it became ah. You know, so when you're talking about fishing line, it's fishing line. Can I get a water with a lime? You know, it was starting to get drawn out for sure. And
There you go.
it's funny because yeah, you're around people with southern accents so much it just you just pick it up unintentionally, you know, and yeah, you start it's like, you know, your veins are pumping sweet tea and it's great.
Sweet tea, Mountain Dew, Pepsi Cola, and Copenhagen.
That's right. Can I get an orange Coke? It's like, what? What's an orange Coke?
Orange Coke. I have never heard of a damn orange Coke. Matter of fact, I dated a girl in college, and she was from the Carolinas, but we went to I went to school at UNC Chapel Hill, and so she came up and we went to this place and she was asking for a vanilla Coke. I'm like, what the fuck is a vanilla Coke? I've never heard of that. I'm like, oh yeah, we got vanilla Coke. I'm like, what the hell? Like, I grew up down here and I still didn't know what some of that shit was until,
Yeah.
I got grown upper.
Mhm. No, it's yeah, it's a whole different world down south, but you know, I love it. You know, like I said, I got family down in North Carolina. They speak Hmong in a southern accent. I'm
Ah,
Hmong, so it's my ethnicity. Yeah, they speak Hmong in a southern accent. I got a first cousin that you know, my dad, it's so funny. It's my dad's older brother's daughter. And growing up, you know, my dad always tells me it was the cutest thing, and she'd say, "Y'all come back down now and visit us soon," you know, and it's just like you get this little Hmong girl with such a thick Southern accent, you know, and it just seems so out of place. But that's how it
that's
is, you
awesome.
know. Yeah, I got family down in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and
Okay.
yeah, it's the same deal down there. They listen to country music. It's like, what kind of Hmong person listens to country music? You know
They
that?
wear cowboy hats and cowboy boots too if they're down
Yeah,
there in
hundred
Tulsa.
percent. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it's a whole different world. But I, you know, I think a little bit of that runs in my blood for sure.
You won it from University of Minnesota, the Golden Gophers, down it like what was it winning that, competing against all these anglers that pretty much got to fish year round? Like when you think of the South, down here in North Carolina, we don't have ice out. We fish 365 days a year, and it's just year round fishing. You're fishing against guys that are able to fish every single day. You're not. How was it? Tell me, how did you feel winning that? Knowing where you're, or did that even play a part in your feelings of knowing that you won that as somebody not just from like Arkansas or Missouri or somewhere like that? You won it from fucking Minnesota. Like,
Yeah.
did that play a part in how you felt winning that?
100%. I think one of the coolest things is to this day, and I think it is still to this day, if you were to split the United States in half, let's just call Kentucky, Tennessee, that dividing line. I
Lengthwise,
think
east to west.
yeah, yep, east to west. I still think I'm the only college winner from north of that. That's awesome. You look at the winners in the past. A lot of the guys are, the Lee brothers. They're Alabama. You got a lot of guys from Bethel. You got a lot of guys from Tennessee, Kentucky,
North Carolina with Lou
Luminetti.
Minetti.
Yeah.
And speaking of shitty boats, he won it with a boat that pretty much should have had plywood seats in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had a chance to talk with Lou last year, and after he won it, and congratulate him and everything like that. And he's a cool cat, man. But yeah, I love to see that because, like I said, it reminds me so much of my own boat that was falling apart, and his is falling apart, and you just make it work.
That's right.
So
if it floats, it's a boat.
I love that about him. That's right. Yeah, if it gets you from A to B and you can catch fish in it, it's a boat.
That's right.
So. But yeah, it's definitely that's something I take pride in. Obviously, when I fished the opens, I didn't have nearly the good finishes that as I wanted to, but I think I took that year as more of a how can I be a sponge and learn as much as I can. Yeah, I think that's because if I went into that with too much on my shoulders, thinking that I need to go win every single one of these, I wouldn't have enjoyed it. And so as much as you want to win every single one of them, obviously, realistically, unless you're just some amazing prodigy, it's not going to happen that way.
You said it earlier, you wanted to be in the fishing industry, and so you see these folks that want to get into the opens to be a professional angler on the elites, or they're fishing the Toyota City Series to be an MLF. And then you have these guys that just want to get into the industry. And it looks like that was your catapult into the industry. If you did great and were able to make the elites, hell yeah. But the second part of that is if I don't make the elites, I'm going to make the connections I need to make to stay in the fishing industry. Is that the mindset you had going into that?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously the elites is a dream, to fish the elites. But honestly, if you look at the Elite Series, it's divided in guys that are making it and doing well, and a lot of the other guys are literally paycheck to paycheck, barely scraping by. You hear horror stories of guys that are pulling out mortgages just so that they can go and fund their Elite Series journeys because sponsorship money is tough to get nowadays, and the guys that are commanding the biggest paychecks are the guys that are winning. And so yeah, obviously I'd love to go and fish the Elite Series and make the Elite Series, but realistically, at some point in time, you got to look at it and say, hey, some guys aren't cut out for it, and you got to be okay. I don't want to be the guy that digs myself into $200,000 of debt because I can't let go of this thing. When it's like, dude, you got to look at it at the end of the day and say, can I do it or can I not do it? And yeah, I think, a lot of guys just need to learn to be content with that. And if you want to fish or if you want to work in the industry, if you want to make a career in the industry, not fishing, that's totally fine. And if that's not your deal, if let's just say you own your own construction company, or if you're a, entrepreneur, business owner of your own deal, then that's great too, But I knew that I always wanted to be around fishing and bass fishing. So definitely making those connections, building those
Mhm.
relationships outside of fishing tournaments as well is something that I prioritize for sure.
All right, this is going to lead into the next part that we're going to talk about with Omnia. 2015 was almost 10 years ago. I'm not good at math.
Yeah.
It's right at 9. We'll call it right at 9, but for number purposes, we're going to call it 10 years ago. You're in the industry, you've been in the industry. What's the 2 or 3 biggest changes you've seen in the industry in these last, let's say, 10 years? Name 2
Oh
of
man,
them. The 2 that stick out to you the most, that they don't have to be, this is an arbitrary question. Everybody's gonna have a different answer, but to you, somebody that's in the industry heavy now and on that Omnia side, what's the 2 things that's the most that you see?
yeah, I think the first thing that stands out the most to me is being so my position at Omnia. I'm the marketing manager for pro staff and sponsorships. So I handle a lot of our sponsorship deals and everything like that. And the biggest glaring thing that sticks out to me is the change from companies chasing after the top tier pros and now moving towards content creators,
Mhm.
potentially YouTubers and a lot of marketing budget being put that direction. Um, I remember when my first year at ICAST 2016, um, and the Guggen squad, those guys were walking around and it was kind of like everybody everybody in the tournament scene kind of, I wouldn't say laughed at them, but didn't really take them serious.
They laughed at him. Don't sugarcoat it. They were laughing at him. They were
Sure,
laughing at him.
sure.
Everybody know. Look, half the people in the fishing industry were laughing at him, and the other half were over there subscribing and pumping them up.
Yeah, 100%. So with how the industry had been for so long, it's the Kevin Van Dams, the Aaron Martins, the Skeet Reeses,
Mhm.
the Jason Christies, and not to say they're not marketing gold mines for companies as well, but you go from that to somebody who just gets thousands of hundreds of thousands of millions of views on a video because they're super, rambunctious and they just do crazy stuff. A lot of it's kind of clickbaity, but they get views,
And so the pros, when a pro wins the classic or they win a tournament, the bait that they say they won the tournament on skyrockets in sales.
100%.
But then you
Yep.
have then you get and we'll stay in the time frame here. The Guggen squad, they were probably catching fish on these other lures that were kind of
Mhm.
obscure because they're not because they're in golf course ponds and doing all this crazy shit that people get excited about. That's entertaining, right? It's entertaining.
Yep.
But then they
Yep.
say that they're catching this fish on this obscure lure, and now that lure is starting to sell because
Hmm.
250,000 people have seen them catch a 8-pound fish on a farm pond while they were getting chased out, dragging it behind them. Right? It's the
Yeah.
entertainment value started getting some of these other baits in
Hmm.
reels and rods and everything fishing related. The
Yep.
packs that they were carrying, you don't.
Yep.
It kind of broadens that range of the shit that they're using to fish with, not just catch the fish with. And at this point in time, a lot of them were still they were doing it in boats, but they were doing it on the bank. They were doing it in creeks. They were doing it on John
Hmm.
boats. Like, it's just a whole different ball game that started back then.
Yeah. To that point too, I think what it did was it brought an entire new market of
Hmm.
anglers into the industry where, the Kevin Van Dams and everything, those guys appeal to the diehards, the
Hmm.
really hardcore bass and, bass heads. The kids that grew up bass fishing, tournament fishing, and loved bass fishing. Those are the kids that would listen and go scour the internet for videos on Kevin Van Dam talking about how to burn a spinner bait, or fish a spinner bait or fish a square bill. And then you got the other guys that are watching Aaron Martin's videos to figure out how to throw a drop shot and beat everybody around the country with the drop shot. But now with YouTube and all these content creators and the Guggen squad and these young rambunctious guys, they start appealing to this younger audience that not isn't necessarily super gung-ho about going to fish tournaments and, trying to make it to the Elite Series or the FLW Tour at the time. And now they're, how can I get involved into fishing on a lesser level without, that huge commitment to go buy a boat and stuff like that. And
Right.
so you have this introduction of this entire new market segment into the industry. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've seen change
Mm-hmm.
in the last 10 years for sure.
So you're the marketing side for Omnia, and I'm sure so that's the biggest, and you're in that. So you've kind of grown with the marketing side because our good buddy Joe LaBarbera, or I like to call him La Barbera, I mispronounced his name for like 4 episodes. It's LaBarbera, but anyways, Joe La Barbera for me. He talked about the fishing pie with money and sponsorship and how we have this pie and how it used to be, let's say pre 2010 or pre YouTube. So pre 2015, when YouTube really started going off, pretty much the whole
Yep.
pie was there with the elites and the FLW
Yep.
guys, the pros. And then Guggen and all these content creators came
Mhm.
and they started taking a big chunk of that damn pie and taking it
Oh, yeah.
down to the people fishing from the bank and farm ponds and golf course ponds and creeks. And they made that pie a lot smaller. And so the people in the industry that realized that early on kind of tapped into that. And, they're the ones that have the anglers and they're the ones that have the social media content creators
Yep.
that are putting out the good content because they took a leap on that to say, hey, man, this might be where the damn industry is going.
Yeah, absolutely. You can honestly look at, the whether it at the time is the FLW Tour, the Bassmaster Elite Series, the Bass Pro Tour nowadays. I can honestly say some content creators, they're living a lot more comfortably in terms of
Ooh.
financially than these
Yes.
touring pros are, you know? And and these pros could be 10 times the angler, 100 times the angler this content creator is, but it's the fact that, you can you can be good, you can be really good at fishing, but if you can't sell products, that companies are wanting to they want return on their investment. You know, they're not here to just here's money, use our money, go fish tournaments and
Have a good time.
everybody's happy. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's happy go lucky. That's not the way it works in the industry. And I feel bad because yeah, as a pro staff manager of a company, I get emailed all the time from people that I don't know how they get my email, but they get my email, and it's hey, I'm such and such and such. I would like to be a pro staff, or what does your pro staff program look like? Or I'm looking for XYZ amount of dollars, and it's like, but what are we getting out of this? And it's amazing because these anglers will come to us, and yes, they might be 10 times the angler that a content creator is, but they completely lack in terms of providing sales data, information of that sort to
Mm.
show the amount of reach that they have, the amount of impressions that they can generate through their audience. And so that's probably the biggest thing I would say has changed in the industry. And I guess for a second thing would probably be just technology. Everybody wants to cry about forward facing sonar nowadays. Either you're with it or you're against it. There's no in between. You're apparently for 6 graphs on the boat or you're for no graphs on the boat. And that kind of seems like what the argument is nowadays. But it's amazing to see the technology and the innovation nowadays. I think of I fish Mille Lacs quite a bit up here in Minnesota, and I remember 5-6 years ago, before the Ultrex came out, we would have to stand up in the front and battle 4-footers to try to stay on a waypoint before there was even 360 and all that sort of stuff.
Let me stop you right there. Everybody talks about live scope. 6 years ago it was side imaging was going to ruin it, and what about the same time it was Alabama rigs are going to ruin fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be real. Spot lock might have ruined fishing. If you want to say ruin, I don't think any of this shit's ruined fishing. But spot lock is probably, you wouldn't be, I mean, I know tons of guys with forward facing sonar on their kayaks, and I know a couple buddies of mine that still don't have spot lock that have forward facing sonar. And when I go fish with them versus the guys that have spot lock with forward facing sonar, completely different game. Completely.
100%.
Like you could not, it would be, I mean, it would be, you would have to be very, very good on your trolling motor to fish forward facing sonar if we did not have spot lock now.
Yep.
I mean, like to me, spot lock has probably changed the fishing game more than anything.
100%.
It allowed the technology of forward facing sonar and 360 to be used 10 times more efficiently because you don't have to do anything. You beep and then you fish. I mean, you know, come on. Spot lock might be a bigger difference in the fishing game than forward facing sonar.
Yeah, I agree with that statement 1,000,000%. I think spot lock has been the biggest innovation in the fishing industry in the last 10 years. You know, yeah, live scope is awesome. You know, forward facing sonar is awesome. 360 is awesome. Side imaging is awesome. But man, I tell you what, the touch of a button, you don't move. Holy cow. When I got spot lock, I was just like, you can take everything off my boat. You cannot take my spot lock.
Yeah,
you know,
because you throw out a buoy, right? With spot lock, you throw out a buoy, you cast to the buoy the whole time. You're not going back and forth and having to reposition or turn circles around that shit. I mean, completely different game.
Yeah, 100%. I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. I think, spot lock has just, the term game changer gets thrown around the industry so much. Spot lock is the biggest game changer to come out in the last 10 years. You could argue that forward facing sonar is getting pretty close to that, but you could take my forward facing sonar, you can't take my spot lock. Yeah.
I would say that a lot of folks who are really good with forward facing sonar wouldn't be as good as they are now if they didn't have spot lock. You have to be good at controlling your boat and the technology. Side note, real quick, because it's 8:20 and we're about to kick off the first game of the NFL season, and we talked about fantasy football. So who do you have on your fantasy football team tonight that we're watching? Do you have the game on? Because I just put on my iPad beside me. Because when you said I'm going to have a side eye on the damn thing, I was like, "Look, man, me too." Because I play in some leagues.
That's funny.
Who do you have playing tonight between Kansas City and Detroit that you're looking at?
Yeah. So my strategy this year was wide receiver in the first 2 rounds.
Okay.
So
nice.
I have nobody on the Chiefs in all of my leagues. I was lucky enough to scoop. I'm in a 14-man league, one of my leagues, and I was lucky enough to scoop up Amon-Ra St. Brown. So he's the only guy I got playing tonight. Like I said, I went wide receiver. Kelsey was never even in the question, and Mahomes is a little too rich for me in the second round.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't have anybody that I'm starting tonight. Matter of fact, I've got, I play mostly dynasty, so I've got some defensive players, but I'm not starting anybody in the game tonight. And when you don't have a Chiefs player on your team, you kind of worry about how well you drafted or went into free agency.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, hey man, if you got a side TV, turn that shit on and we can watch it. And if something good happens, we can watch it together. All right. So we talked about your journey here. We talked about your, what kept you and got you into the industry. The two things you've seen in the last 10 years that have driven the industry, and now with Omnia. So Omnia is a online tackle store at its heart. And over the last 6 months, it has grown into a little bit more than that. Tell us about what Omnia was before what y'all just rolled out with the Premium Pro.
Yeah, so yesterday actually was my 1-year anniversary of being at Omnia. So I wasn't there from the inception, but I knew the people that started Omnia when they started it. And so I would say that yes, we are an e-commerce website, We are an online tackle shop, but first and foremost, I would say that we're a tech company.
Hmm,
And what I mean by that
hmm,
is, the brains behind Omnia are way smarter than mine. We're just bass fishermen. We just know what bass anglers want to buy. We know the products that they want us to carry and that sort of thing. But the brains that you know fuel the engine of what Omnia is, they are much smarter than we are in terms of developing a concept where you can take a fishing report that gets submitted from the public or public anglers, community of anglers, have very key points of information in that fishing report. Take all that information and churn it into, get this whole flywheel spinning in a sense, where we can make product recommendations based off of the lake that you're targeting, the species that you're targeting, the
hmm.
season that you're fishing in. And so it's I would say it's a tech company first and foremost, but yeah, we sell tackle. There's no
I
question about it.
that's intriguing to me. I didn't think of it as a tech company, and I've had some experience in the past with startups in the tech industry with wearable technology in the safety field. I I never thought of it as a tech company. I always thought of it as, a place to go buy lures and baits and fishing gear and shit.
Hmm.
So for you to
Yep.
say that, that really does change my mindset in and of it, and it makes sense
Yep.
because y'all released the Premium Pro. Tell us about what that involves, because so a couple days ago I downloaded it, got my Premium Pro, and started farting around on it on Jordan and Sharon Harris, and I know those lakes really well, especially the areas that I like to fish. So I know the contours real well and stuff like that. And I was like, what the hell kind of shit are they going to give me that I can use? And uh, I started looking at it, and I had the contours, but then you have the one with the ground density, and you'll have to excuse me for my ignorance of the terminology, and you'll have to correct me. But the
Hmm.
one with the bottom density, not density, but hardness and softness.
Hardness. Yep.
Dude, I looked at that and I started going to every place I fish and everywhere that I've seen on that. And I started
Yeah.
looking at those at those things. Now, all right, let's back up a little bit. So you have all this you have the contours, you have the hardness and softness of the bottom of the lake. Those are all generated from users on the lake from Lawrence users, right?
That's correct. It's
Okay.
uh it's it's called CMAP. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So when anglers are, like you said, it's a community upload of sonar logs. When anglers are driving around in their boats and they're graphing, they're taking in, I think it's like 5 points of information all at the same time. One being depth, second is bottom hardness, the third would be presence of vegetation. And there's two more that I can't remember off the top of my head, but all of this information is being recorded all at the same time. So when somebody records a sonar log, all of it gets saved onto a map chip or a chip on their graph, and then they can go and upload it into
Hmm.
a cloud, and that's that CMAP cloud, and that gets updated into our site. Uh, because that's where we derive that information from. So to your point, yes, Premium Pro is our new app subscription, which provides you with all these different map layers. Um, am I able to share a screen on here?
Um, sh I think so. Maybe no. I think I have to share it because I'm in charge. Um, yeah. Let me see. Man, why you got to come on? Do you have a present button down in the bottom?
Does that work if I do that? Can you
Boom.
see?
Look, geniuses. I'm a genius.
All right.
Brass and Brews is now a technology podcast,
Yes.
and we can thanks Tilo for that. So,
There
Alex, go fuck yourself because you know what? I'm a technology expert now because you weren't here, little short
you
bastard.
could put that on your resume now.
Hey, let's go to a good lake. Don't go to Falls. That lake sucks. Go to Jordan.
Where's
There we
Jordan from
go.
here?
Yeah, that's right, right there.
All right. So
All right,
To your
hold on
point,
before you get started. Hold on before you get started, because all right, so this goes on to YouTube. We have about 50 or so YouTube subscribers. Look, folks, if you're listening and you want to see what's going on right now, our 1 minute or 1 hour and 9 minutes. Go check out here for however long we talk for this. Trevor's showing what this app does on the screen. Primarily podcast listeners, if you are listening, I would highly suggest you go take a look at the YouTube channel on Swamp Rat Fishing to follow along. For the rest of it, I'll do the best I can to commentate it, but it's not going to do it justice. Y'all need to go watch it. That's all I'm saying. All right, Trevor, take us away, Hoss.
Cool. So, yeah, like I said, the current map layers that we have core layers, and then we have weather layers. All of this is accessible through the app only at this time. Obviously, me being an employee at Omnia, I have access to this on the desktop, so I can show, provide,
So you can put on
demonstrations like
shitty
this.
podcasts like Bass and Brews. We love it.
Hey,
I'm glad.
Hey, you know what? We're giving you a little bit of special treatment for this, and we get to show your audience, what it looks like beforehand, so that they can go and get that app installed, and then include this in their subscription.
All I gotta say, you keep trying to scroll in here onto Farrington. Let's go somewhere else. That's my spot. No, I'm just kidding. You go wherever you want.
We go down here.
It doesn't matter. I want you to take us through with this, and if you're breaking down this lake with this app to go fish it for a tournament, this is what I want you to relay to us on this. And the wind, I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead and say the wind function for me is phenomenal. I'm so excited about that. And then the bottom hardness. But anyway, you take us through breaking down Jordan Lake if you're going to fish here with the Omnia Premium Pro app.
Yeah, let's go through the first one. So we've got depth. So if we hit depth, you can see here, there isn't perfect coverage of the whole lake, because obviously this is community derived, but you can see that most of the lake is covered, has been sonar logged. As you zoom in, you'll see that these are very, very detailed sonar logs, so you can see all the little deep spots, little high spots, everything in between. Creek channels, exactly. Nice. So very, very cool. Like I said, this is just our contour depth layer. One thing that I will highlight about this is with our core layers. So you've got depth, hardness, vegetation, water temperature, clarity. You can also add weather layers on top of that. So, we've had a lot of comments where people are like, man, I wish I knew I could see the wind barbs or see the direction of the wind on a specific point and see how it hits that particular contour. So if you were to hit wind on top of this, those are the wind barbs that start showing up. And you can see we've got a south-southwest wind. But let's just say there's a particular point on the lake or this bridge. So you can see that, that wind is going to be pushing right up the chute in this bridge. And so you can kind of plan whether or not, hey, if I'm going to go fish this area, is this going to be beneficial to me or not with the way the wind's blowing, So maybe more current gets pushed through here, bait gets pushed through here. You can position yourself out here and just, wait for bait to get pushed in and catch fish as they're waiting as well.
And real quick, this is why I love this wind app, because I use an app called Ventusky, but then it doesn't have, you can't zoom in real good like you can on the Omnia app. And I also don't have my contours there, so I'm looking at the contours versus Ventusky, and they show the wind bars. So I use that app a lot of times to look and see, if there's a point where the wind sets up right on that point or whatever it is. It's so awesome to use this. And this is an app we can use if we take our iPads and put our iPads on a mount. We can use this app to see the wind and the contours at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah. To your point here, you can look at this White Oak Beach point on the lake, and you can see that the wind's blowing against it. But if you do have that contour layer, you can see that how it's actually hitting the point that moves offshore, not just what you see sticking out of the water, everything underneath it as well. So that's super, super helpful to have. And it's going to really help anglers, figure out how fish are positioning on a piece of structure, a piece of cover. So I'm going to take
Hey,
this wind layer off.
yeah, take that off. I got one quick question with the contours in the wind too.
Yep.
Is there an option, or is there something coming up that would show road beds or railroad beds in these? Because Jordan
Yeah.
Lake has a lot of roads and a lot of railroad beds that people fish.
Yeah, I think we are in the works of getting a map vendor to utilize contours and make sure that we have coverage on all lakes across the country. Um, and I think that is definitely something that we could implement into this. If it's not in the coming down the pike, I can absolutely bring that recommendation up to our dev team and they can get that added in for sure.
All right, yeah, that'd be super. That'd be super awesome. Okay, so we took off the
Yep.
wind. We're going. We got the core layer on is still the depth. What's next?
Yep. So let's go into bottom hardness.
Hell
So
yeah,
now
this is the one that gets me all excited.
you can see here, obviously there are some spots that don't have coverage, but we overlay it with our contour still. And you can see based on the color gradient, yellows and yellows to orange will be kind of your softer bottom, but these red areas are going to be that hard bottom. So, if you're looking at this point right here, you can see that there's a hard spot right on this specific part of the point right here as well, right there as well. And not the entire point has the same level of bottom hardness. So if you want to key in on that sort of stuff, whether it's a transition from sand to rock, or if it's, pea gravel to chunk rock, you have these different color gradients that show you, hey, this bank over here looks to have a lot more hard bottom than this particular bank over here, which is a lighter yellow to orange color gradient.
I,
So
I,
really
I
cool stuff.
oh my god, I love this for the mere fact that when you're side imaging, we're always looking for those little hard spots on side imaging, right? But if you start, if you're at a lake that you don't know well or whatever, and you start just marking all the hard spots, you end up with a jumbled waypoint system in there. But with
Hmm.
this, like, you can at least get in a general area and find that hard spot on a point. So instead of you fishing all these other parts of the point, you go to that one hard spot in this general area
Yep.
of the map. Hey, is there a way to show your location on this yet, or is that in the works?
Yeah. So this is just a desktop demonstration, but
Yep.
in the app, yes, your
Oh my
location will
god.
be on the map.
Oh my
Yep.
god, this is awesome because you can start to focus in on a hard spot on a point that, and we hear it now. People always say that fish don't like mud, but bass don't like mud, but that's not all necessarily true. But in general, at
Exactly.
least for us, if we're finding that little teeny hard spot on that point, that
Hmm.
higher percentage, that's where the fish are going to be. Dude, this is
Exactly.
when I turned this on and started looking at it. I literally went to all my spots on Harris and Jordan and started looking at where the schools of fish or where I've caught fish kind of are, and there was a little bit
Yep.
of a correlation there. So this is awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's exactly what this is supposed to be. It's a tool to help you pre-fish, but then
Yes.
also help you understand, hey, after the tournament or after the outing, when I was fishing this particular spot, I wonder if there was something different about the bottom composition there. That's why that I caught a bigger
Hmm.
fish, or I ran into a school here. Up here in Minnesota, where we have our natural lakes, we get a lot of grass,
Hmm.
and when we're flipping grass, whether it's milfoil or coontail, generally the spots that are better than others are going to have hard bottom on the bottom of it. But the thing is, if you don't get out there early enough in the spring, right as the ice comes off the lake, and you don't start graphing those areas, by the time you hit opener or fishing opener up here, all that grass is grown in, and you're not going to be able to read the bottom
Hmm.
composition
Hmm.
anymore. So this is
So
a great tool to
Florida,
help eliminate that. Yeah,
think
Florida's another
about
one. Shell beds.
the early tournaments for the elites and for MLF going down to Florida with
Hmm.
all that grass that never dies, right? Like either you just
Exactly.
luck upon a hard spot, or where they are, or whatever, time on the
Yep.
water. This can really take down that time on the water, being able to
Absolutely.
find some of those little hard spots in grass lakes like y'all have in Minnesota. We don't have quite as much here, but you get down in the South Georgia and Florida, holy shit.
Yep, absolutely. And great segue into our next layer, which is vegetation. Um, it appears like there is a little bit of vegetation on this lake.
All
Maybe
right.
you can get it up into the creek arms a little bit.
Yeah, so I this is the one thing that I did question when I was looking at this app, knowing the places that I fish. Some of the
Hmm.
vegetation on here, I have not run into vegetation on this lake in that
Sure.
area. And I
Yeah.
but the what I would say is Jordan is a dirty lake. Like
Yep.
a foot, 12 inches of visibility is a good visibility day. It's a dirty lake, and
Sure.
I wonder maybe if some of that has something to do with it. And I thought
Potentially.
maybe some of the standing timber areas, but they're not showing up on the vegetation side. So I was the one thing I did question about this was the vegetation, because some of this vegetation that I see on the map that you're showing, I have not run into that.
Sure. Yeah, and it could be, some I guess reading errors in those sonar logs.
So
But
here,
obviously,
I hate to interrupt you again, but if you
yep.
look at this bales, if you look at bales right there in the bottom middle, right? Yeah, right there. If you go all the way
Hmm.
to the right, like that's a very, very shallow area, and I know there's not any
Yeah.
vegetation there, but there's some stumps and stuff. So that's kind of why I thought maybe
Okay.
there was a misreading. But um,
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, and that's really good insight to know, because if this is something that's reading wrong, or if the sonar logs are interpreting stumps as vegetation, that's good for us to know, and then we can potentially try to work with CMAP and try to get that sorted out so that we can distinguish between hard cover, your timber and that sort of thing compared to vegetation for sure.
I'm on run St. Brown touchdown.
Oh yeah, I'm
Yep,
all for that. Let's see what we're at in
16
points.
yards.
Woo!
He had about 60 yards on that drive. There you go, touchdown. Hell,
Oh, 11.7 points. I'll take that. Good start to the year.
first quarter, man. He keeps it up.
Yep.
You gonna have a good ass game.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Let's keep the touchdowns coming for sure. Um, so the next one is a really cool one. I love this one. This is water
Hmm.
temps. So this is really cool because this is derived off of satellite readings. So
Okay.
we have satellites that are not Omnia has satellites, but we work with a company that utilizes satellite imaging to read temperatures, surface temperatures off of lakes. So you can see right now, those water temperatures are looking anywhere from the mid to upper 70s. Does that sound about right, Paul?
No, we're probably 80 to 85 is what
Really?
Jordan's going to be right now. Yeah, 80 to
Yeah.
85.
Yeah, and with
But
this desktop demonstration, we don't
yeah,
have the numbers on here,
right.
but yeah, you could be correct with that just based off of my eyeballs looking at this gradient down here. But one real cool thing that we were able to showcase, where the heck is Lake Norman? I always lose Lake
Oh,
Norman. Is
Charlotte.
this
Go to
Norman?
Charlotte. Nope, down, down.
Yeah, yeah, that's Norman
There it
right
is.
here,
Yep,
right?
sorry. Yep. That's
Okay.
it.
So when the red crest was here,
Mm,
Major League Fishing red crest, the guys that were fishing in that tournament, and I would say the guys that made it to day three, the top 10 or top 20 of them, um, it was kind of a spawning deal, in the sense that it was early springtime, and generally speaking, when you're thinking of spawning, north end of the lake is going to be your warmest water, away from the dam, that sort of deal. But we could actually see, based off the surface temps, that there's a warm water discharge right here
yep.
that pumps out hot water into this whole section of the lake. And this entire section of the lake was about 8 to 10 degrees warmer than the rest of the lake. And so the guys that were catching spawning fish were catching them all down here,
Mm.
when the guys that don't have that local knowledge were looking through all this stuff up here trying to find warm creeks, when in reality the warmest water on the lake was down here. And a
Dude,
lot of those guys that finished well
this
were
is
down here.
this is fucking amazing. It's kind of hard in our lakes down here right now because the water's just damn hot, especially since the
Yeah.
last 3 days it's been like 99 degrees. But holy shit,
Hmm.
I can see that because the warm water discharge coming out of there, like this. Oh my god, this is awesome. This is
Yeah,
awesome.
it's really cool stuff. Like I said, let me see if I can pull historical data and showcase it real quick. I'd love to show you that little snippet.
How crazy is being able to take this while you look for that? When we think about data as in fishing, the majority of the data that we have is anecdotal, right? I caught fish today doing this in this spot. This was the weather. This was, but how do you you can take notes, but how do you build upon that? Like, because Sharon Harris is a good example. Fish getting mega schools on Sharon Harris. And you go out there tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning, get on these mega schools and catch 30 or 40 fish that are 2 to 3 pounds. You catch 20 or 30 of them in a few hours. You go out the next day, it's the exact same weather. Everything's the same. And them not be there.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's anecdotal, right? How do we start to take this information? And this is the kind of information that we can start to use to talk about patterns or whatever but then you can say, well, look what it was yesterday, and maybe today it's at a different part of the lake. Maybe it's 100 yards away, maybe it's a mile away, but you can start to say, hey, this is the real-time data, and it's not here today, it's over here.
Yeah. Let me run to the bathroom real quick, and then
All right,
I will
ahead.
come in and blow your mind with Lake Norman real
Hell
quick.
Yeah. All right, guys, look, he's gonna go take a tinkle. I encourage you that if you're listening now to go on to Swamp Rat Fishing and to watch from an hour and 9 minutes on, at least. We can articulate this stuff through the podcast, but without you seeing it, you will not understand it. And they do offer a 7-day free trial for the Premium Pro. So if you have a tournament coming up, or you have a tournament coming up this weekend, which would be a week from today that we're recording, but if you have some stuff coming up, man, go check this out. Try the premium free trial and start looking at this and look at it. Do what I did. Go and look at the places that you catch fish, or your buddies catch fish, and start to break it down with this information that they have here on that app. Because I'm telling you, when you see this shit, it's gonna be fucking phenomenal. It's gonna enlighten you some on this. And this Premium Pro is only $50 a year. And I think with that, I might be misspeaking, but until he gets back and we cover this, I think that covers some other benefits that you get from ordering tackle from them. I could be wrong. I'm going to say it now until T-Lo gets back and corrects me. But the $50 Premium Pro not only gives you all these layers with the weather and the core layers, but it gives you some other benefits with ordering tackle. Am I right on that? I was trying to tell them that they need to, one, go watch the rest of this episode, but two, with the premium, don't we get some benefits from the premium with ordering tackle?
Yep. So we have had premium as a membership for customers, which was $29 a year. And what that allows you, what that gives you access to is, first off, 10% back on all your purchases. So, if you're spending $300 a year on tackle, you get 10% of that back. That's $30. Your premium is essentially free. Secondly, you get free shipping on all your orders, no minimums. So if you need 1 bag of Senkos, we ship it for free. If you buy 200 bags of Senkos, we ship it for free. And you can order 4 times a day, and shipping is free every single time. So that's really cool. And then on top of that, we also do premium only deals for our premium members. Sometimes we'll do like a sale that is only allowed for premium members, or we'll give you that, a quick little flash sale. We'll do 30% off of some super high end deal or super sought after product. We sometimes will do like early access to sales. So if we have a sale that's going to be going, like we just had a 20% off site wide sale. We gave our premium members access a week early so that they're able to get the products they want and not have to worry about it being sold out.
And
So
this,
a lot of benefits.
yeah, and this isn't like bargain basement bullshit either. Like this is, they have they have everything. They
Yeah,
literally
basically
have
everything you need.
everything.
Yeah, we carry over 25,000 different SKUs. So,
Woo.
and if there's something that you're looking for and we don't have it, feel free to let our team know, because we're always looking to expand our assortment. Obviously, we want to be smart about it so that we don't just carry random one-off products. But we always look to get the feedback from our customers about what we should be carrying. Especially if it's something that works in your area, and there's a lot of demand for it. So,
All right, so the historical data, and we're not going to dive into the site and the baits and the lures, and then the ambassadors that put out the fishing reports. That's another podcast we can do in the future. I want to
sure.
go into the rest of the Premium Pro app. All right, so the
So
historical data, did you find that? Because I want to see that shit.
I did. So I'm going to switch to this screen over here.
Okay.
Now, let me know when you can see that.
Yep, it's up.
So that's Lake Norman, and that was right during the Red Crest event.
Was that March?
That was March. Yep, third week of March.
Wow, look at that. That is phenomenal.
You can see this whole section of lake down here was
so
much warmer.
If y'all look at if Lake Norman, it's the creek arm to the right of the dam in Norman where the hot water discharge comes out.
Yep. Exactly. And yeah, the color gradient is very, very obvious here. There is something going on down here that's making this water so much warmer. And it kind of looks like there's one sneaky little one up here too. So I know for a fact that this one is kind of local knowledge. I'm curious as to what this is, and I haven't really dug into that. But
yeah, I don't know what
like
that is on Norman. I don't know that lake well, but keep talking about Norman, and when you're done, I want you to slide down to Sharon Harris when you're done with this. I want to look at if you have historical data for Harris during like the March timeframe. I'd like to see that too.
Sure. Yeah. And so, as you would imagine, generally speaking, if you're looking for warm water in the springtime, you're looking into the northern ends of the lake.
That's
those south facing stuff, where you're going to get that sunlight hitting it. But it's completely the opposite. And if you were not in on that local knowledge, or if you didn't know that about this warm water discharge, you are at a huge disadvantage, because a majority of the guys that finished in the top were right there in this hole.
Oh my God. This is, looking at this now, hindsight's 2020, but damn it, boy, I got X-ray vision right now looking at this. This is holy shit.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff. I think a lot of people are going to find this to be information that's very valuable, especially during the spawn. But the water temps is really cool for sure.
Well, even on our lakes down here, if we potentially have cooler water coming in the summertime on our lakes down here off of a creek arm, that could change some of your summer fishing too. If there's cooler water, those fish are potentially migrate and feed there longer, or come up more often, and potentially be schooled in those areas in the summertime for these hot weather lakes.
Yeah, I think of like cold rains as well. That can be something that comes into play. And then going into the next core layer, which we'll touch on, is water clarity. But you can see some of the clay lakes, if there's a big storm or something like that, those clay banks are going to get real dirty, and that water clarity is going to change. So that's another thing to keep in mind. But let's see, if I go to Sharon Harris, is that correct?
Yep, Sharon Harris.
Let's see.
Well, I'm excited about this one. Look, and I know I got a lot of people listening to this podcast because our #1 listenership is from North Carolina. And I know a good chunk of those folks are my local people down in Sharon Harris. Y'all need to not watch the rest of this podcast. Just listen, and I will feed you all incorrect information.
Give me a date range there, Paul.
Let's do. So for Sharon Harris, let's do about the same time. Let's do like the March, somewhere in March.
Okay, towards the end of March.
Yeah, let's do the end of March, because we're probably then somewhere around 70 to 75 degrees This year was a little bit cooler, but in general, we're somewhere around at least 70 degrees towards the end of March. January, February, March,
So
April, maybe a little bit, maybe 65 to 70. But anyway, doesn't matter. Go into March. Let's do that one.
yeah, I'll pick let's see
Because this is
here.
also a nuclear power plant, but there's no hot water, quote unquote, hot water discharge place. Now anyway, I want to see the data to see if I think what I think is what I think.
Sure. So I'm gonna pull March 27th here
Okay.
of this past year.
And Trevor, we talked about earlier, hour and a half. We are way over that. Well, we're 5 minutes over that. But
It's okay.
if we gotta wrap it up, you tell me. But I
Sure.
wanna get through the Omnia stuff for sure because this shit is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, we'll get through this pretty quick here, and then we can get to the ending, which is
A surprise to you.
gonna be a surprise to me. So let's do that. Let's see. How does that look there? Can you see that all right?
It's coming up. Yep, I got it. Okay, it's small, but I got it. Okay,
Yep.
this is March. Wow.
This is
is not
March
what I expected.
27th.
Okay.
So it looks like and so there's a couple things to take into consideration too. These are satellite images that are passing every single day. So
Okay.
if we had a warm up, that could be potentially why this creek arm warmed up really quick, or the shoreline warmed up really fast. And then also with satellite imaging, sometimes there's cloud cover that
Mhm.
blocks reading surface temperatures. So it might be a little skewed, but the whole idea of this is to give you a kind of like a ballpark estimate to gauge, what the water temperature is going to be, and also, we can provide the what am I trying to say? Kind of like an average of the last,
Mhm.
it'll take the last 7 days of data, and we're working to get that implemented right now, where we'll take the average of the last 7 days of data and then kind of calculate what it should roughly be around those around different parts of the lake. So really cool
Wow,
stuff.
this is phenomenal. So the place that I was curious about is can you see my pointer? Can you see my pointer?
I cannot. Let me
Okay. All right. Oh, I was going to have you say there. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The place that I was curious about is I call it a bubble up, but it's where, I don't know if it's where they discharge the water or where they take it in for the plant, but there's a place, and it's about 30 foot deep, and it's in the middle of the lake. And it was actually, if you can think about the picture you just saw, you had the middle of the lake was very cold. You had the dam was very cold. There was this little teeny section that was light blue, Carolina blue, and that's where that bubble up comes in. And that was right there where that again, I don't know, probably other people know if it is a discharge or if it's an inlet, but regardless, that little area was sandwiched between a lot of dark blue. Okay, he's pulling it back up. I'll bring it up on the screen again.
Are you talking about right here?
Nope, down, right there. So that little nope, up, right there. That little area right there is where this discharge or intake, one of the two is. That little area right there, it's a little shallower too, but it's sandwiched between that really cold water on both sides, and that's where that is. So I don't know if that plays into it or what, or if it's just because a little bit of shallow right there, and obviously it narrows up, so it's probably going to be a little warmer, but it's a lot warmer on this picture with the with the shading.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like I said, with all these color gradients that are changing kind of drastically on the shoreline, obviously shallow water heats up quicker. So, maybe this was a warm spell where you hit, a really warm day and all this stuff right along the bank heated up really quick. So
what's crazy is this creek arm on the bottom, that's Buckhorn Creek. Like that yep, and that side that's shaded, that's hotter, that's the deeper side of that creek.
Sure.
That's the deeper side of that creek. Now it's also south facing, so we're getting that south sun on it. But I would have still thought that the southeast side of that creek arm would be hotter because it's a lot shallower. And it's one of those shallower banks that comes out, whereas the one that's actually hotter is the steeper bank, but that bank has a lot more rock on it.
Yeah, and there's so many
That is
different factors to
crazy.
take into
Holy
account.
shit.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Damn. Can we get to February with kayak tournament season kicks back in? And look, if anybody's fishing CKA or CCKF or Queen City and you're coming to any of this, y'all cannot download this app. I'm gonna get T-Lo to, he's gonna have to send me everybody that wants to pay for it, and I'm gonna have to approve them.
That sounds good. I'll send you a list.
All right.
Um,
So was there anything else in the core layers that you wanted to go over real
yeah,
quick? Okay,
yeah.
let's do
Let
it.
me let me just go over
Yeah.
the water clarity real quick. I'll share my screen again
Oh yeah,
for you.
that'd be good. I'm curious how that
So
works here because our lakes are dirty as shit. Like we fish in mud holes
yeah, so this is
normally.
Norman. Let me get back to Jordan here. So
Ooh,
you can see the color gradient. The main
wow.
lake is going to be a little bit clearer, but as you get into the back of these creeks, it's going to get a little bit dirtier. And
Hmm.
a lot of this could be creek runoff. If you got some water inflow coming in, it might muddy it up a little bit. But does that seem pretty accurate to what you've experienced on Jordan here?
Yeah, 100%. Because if you go up to that creek arm north east of Farrington, so that's the New Hope River, if I'm not mistaken, and so that river brings a lot of stuff down from Raleigh, in that area there. So
Hmm.
you have a lot of runoff from the cities, right?
Sure.
So that
Yeah, that would
makes
make
sense. That's
complete
up like
sense.
that. And then if you go back down and you go to the Hall River, there you go, and go to the left. You see that big pond there to the left. Yep. And so if you go up there, the Hall River is feeding a bunch of water from Chapel Hill and Durham that comes off of the Hall River from those places there. So that makes sense why that water is going to be dirtier there.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
and all
this
those
is
places where it shows the dirty water are inlets from big creeks or rivers, um, and they're shallow. So yeah, makes sense. But that's good to know
no
too
this
for spawn. God, you could
100%.
match this up with the bottom hardness, the water
Hmm.
clarity, and then the temperature for a spawn bite, and really dial
Yep.
some shit in.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it's not a perfect representation at the time. I don't know if it ever will be, but this is more of a, just another tool that you can use as a guideline so that, if you're sitting on the couch at home and,
Mm-hmm.
you only got 2 days to practice, or you only got an evening to practice
Mm-hmm.
after work, you can take the night before and kind of go through this and figure out what areas am I going to focus my practice on if I've got 2 hours. I want to fish dirty water, I can get up into this stuff. If I want to fish clean water, I can focus on the main lake. If it's a spawning deal, I can find the creek arms that are going to be warmer than the other ones. So, really cool tool. Like I said, there isn't, this by no means is perfect yet, but it's definitely another tool to add into your arsenal to help you catch more fish. So,
One of the things I see with this for me, and again, I fish out of a kayak, so I can't. If you're in a boat, you can run damn near all of Jordan Lake in a boat in a day if you're practicing and go check stuff out. In a
hmm.
kayak, you can't do that, right? You're really, let's say 5 miles is kind of typically where you're going to be.
Yeah.
So take Jordan Lake for instance. I have my areas. I know where fish are going to be, where I typically catch fish, but I can use this to really find maybe a little place that nobody else thinks about or nobody else
Hmm.
knows. And using the bottom hardness and using the water clarity and using the water temp is to maybe find a little area that somebody else doesn't know about, a little sneaky honey
Exactly.
hole, right? Like
Yep.
this dials that in. And so instead of just willy nilly going and fishing the same shit, I'm like, damn, look at this. Let
Yeah.
me go try this on my 1 day of practice and at least go down
Hmm.
there and fish it and scan it and mark stuff and see what's there. Like you can
Right.
start to break down bodies of water with this. You think about it, we're breaking down bodies of water with Google Earth, and
Yep.
not all lakes get the fall and winter drawdown, so we can't see all the stuff on Google Earth. And
Right.
then after that, we're using, our C map or our lake master, whatever, to look for those points or stuff. But now we can really start to dial in sitting on the couch at home, drinking a White Claw Surge and be like, shit, let me go test this out, because I know I can go catch fish up here at Barrington, but let me
Yep.
go run down here to Beaver Creek and check this little piece out.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to that point, like I said, we want to make, this is designed to help anglers catch more fish, whether you've got a ton of experience on a particular body of water and you want to just try something new on it, or if it's if it's a new lake to you and you want to break down water as quickly as you can. This is all the intention of this is just to help you make the most out of your time on the water.
Well, real quick, because this is awesome. I love this. What's the Omnia clarity in core layers?
I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know if this is something we offer. So
Okay.
it just might be something that's
Okay. It's interesting.
on the
They got some of
desktop.
the smaller bodies of water. Okay. Well, forget
Yep.
Omnia clarity. I was just curious because I saw it there. All right. Dude, this is unbelievable. When you think about breaking down lakes, people are going and they're using, again, Navionics. They're using their apps for Lake Master, Garmin, or whatever, Lowrance, CMAP. We're trying to find these brush piles on water drawdowns through Google Earth. You start adding in being able to pinpoint clarity, bottom hardness.
Hmm.
I mean, this like this for somebody that kayak fish, and all my people that kayak fish, this breaks down that lake so much better for
100%.
us. And even a boat. I mean, even a boat, instead of running all over the place. I mean, God, this. All right, I looked at it, but this you kind of going through it has put my mind into a whole different. I only got a
Sure.
couple more tournaments coming up. But I can bet your Bo Diddley ass I'm gonna be using this shit
Yeah,
to
for
look at
sure.
these lakes, because I've never fished Norman, and I've got a tournament coming up on Norman. I've
Hmm.
got a TOC tournament. I don't know where it is yet, and even if it's a lake that I know, I'm going to be using this information to go look and see if I can find something that stands out from my usual areas.
Yeah, this is like you said, with kayak anglers especially, that they can't cover water super fast. So this allows them to try to figure out, okay, where can I strategically launch so that I'm closer to all the areas that I want to be looking at, and to be able to break that down from your couch, from the comfort of your home.
I know we're talking about this from a tournament setting, but even the guys that like to fun fish and that's all they do,
Mhm.
think about being able to take the pre-spawn and saying, "Hey, I'm just going to fish this creek arm," and
Yep.
they're not going to run all over the place. I mean, there's a lot of aspects of this to put into play that works. Man, this is awesome. Thank you for showing us that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, everybody that's still listening, you need to go start watching at an hour and 9 minutes to an hour and 47 minutes, because if you don't, I'm gonna whoop your ass when we fishing because of Omnia, and I'm gonna get discounts on buying my lures too.
Yeah, like I said, as a premium member, you get so much. It's the best deal in tackle purchasing in the industry. So definitely give it a shot. And for those that are listening, that we do offer free trials. So there's a free trial on Premium Pro, whether you're on iOS or Android. So definitely give it a whirl, and just check it out. See if you like it, and if you don't, hey, no harm, no foul. Like I said, we love to hear feedback from people about Premium Pro, and how it's working for them. And we if there's anything that you would like to see as improvements, definitely let us know.
All right, real quick, high level, couple minutes, talk about the fishing reports y'all put out. I at least want to
Yes.
touch on it because that's another benefit of being on Omnia.
Yeah, so we get fishing reports from anglers, what we call our Omni ambassadors. Anybody in the world can be an Omni ambassador, and if you're fishing out on a particular lake, your home lake or whatever, wherever you're fishing, um, you can file a fishing report on our site. And essentially, it's a very easy, straightforward process. You select the lake, particular hot bait that you're using, the season that you're fishing, the species you're targeting, the cover, the structure of the cover that you're fishing, and you can tag any sort of recommended products that you also use, whether that's a rod or a reel, fishing line, hooks, so on and so forth. And then you provide a brief description of your outing. I was targeting shallow points with a crankbait, blah, 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 blah. And you can upload photos, videos, fish catch videos, that sort of deal in this fishing report. But the cool thing is, when you do that, we reward you because if somebody purchases a product that you recommend through your fishing
Mm.
report, whether that's from the homepage because your fishing report generated a fishing lure recommendation, a product recommendation, we pay you in tackle credit. So
Mm.
if you're filing a fishing report and somebody buys the lure straight from your fishing report, because let's just say you go out there, you file a report on Lake Jordan, and you recommend a Megabass Vision 110, and somebody clicks on your fishing report, adds that bait to your cart, you're going to earn tackle credit. So we have 3 levels of ambassadors. We have bronze, silver, and gold. So you start out as bronze. If you file 5 fishing reports, we promote you to silver. And if you file 15 total, we promote you to gold. At the bronze and the silver level, you earn $5 of fishing credit every time when somebody buys off of your fishing report. At the gold level, you earn $10 of credit whenever
Man.
somebody purchases off your fishing report. So the more fishing reports you file, the more likely you're going to earn credit. So file away, and we have different benefits for filing fishing reports. If you're a gold member and you file 15 fishing reports in a calendar year, we give you a free year premium.
Damn
So
it, boy. Ah,
yeah,
look, and also Omnia is probably the easiest place, the easiest app I've ever bought tackle from.
yeah,
Look, you can get your ass in trouble. If somebody monitors your fishing purchases, you can get yourself in trouble with Omnia. But you can say this was recommended by somebody who's actually been catching and winning tournaments. So
yeah.
at least you can back it up with that. Dude, this is awesome. This is great. This is a deep dive into the Omnia thing that I was hoping we would get, and we did. But look,
Yeah.
uh, we are 21 minutes past when we're supposed to end, and this is the time in Bass and Brews where it's the only scripted part, and it is the part that is either going to take you to the heights of serious angler, or it's going to sink you to the deep waters. I
Yeah.
hope I hope you answer this shit right, and it brings you up. But the brewskis will let you know if you answer any of these questions terribly wrong, and we will chastise you. So this is the shotgun round, and with the
All
shotgun
right.
round, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. I want your off the top answer right away. There's no there's no thinking, there's no if or that. It is the
Okay.
it's these are easy questions to answer. All right. Now, we might talk about some of these and dive into them here and there, but when I ask a question, I need the answer. Are you ready for the
Okay.
Bass and Brews shotgun
I
round?
as ready as I can be.
Crops or flops?
Flops.
Hmm. That's like all the boat anglers say flops, because they don't
Yeah.
have to put their feet in the water like kayak guys. When you take like a rainbow and you get that some bitch wet,
Yeah.
it's like you just squirted it's like you just squirted Astroglide on your sandal. You're trying to walk and your feet are just slipping out of your flops. It's terrible.
Sure. Yeah.
Pineapple and pizza, yes or no?
Absolutely not.
My man, hey. And I'm surprised with this answer because being from Minnesota, I thought you might say yes.
No, absolutely. It does not deserve to be anywhere near a pizza.
If you didn't pay for it and it was there to eat, would you eat pineapple and pizza?
Yeah.
Look, I
I
will
would hate
never
it,
pay.
but
Yeah, I will never pay for it, and I might pick the fucking pineapple off if it has like pepperoni on it.
yeah.
But I'm
Yep.
still gonna eat free pizza. I'm a fat
Yeah,
ass.
100%. Yep.
Yeah, there
Yep.
we go. You gonna spend more on a rod or reel?
A rod.
Why?
I think a reel, for the most part, serves the purpose of being able to cast a lure and reel and retrieve your line. I think a rod, there's more intricacies to it, whether it's lightweight. Obviously, reels can be lightweight too, but I think
Mm.
sensitivity is a big one, and then the action of the rod is huge for me. Uh, you can throw a chatterbait. Let's just say you're throwing a jig. You can't throw it on a medium light rod. but you can reel in a jig and fight a fish with a jig on a 6-to-1 gear ratio, a 300 size reel, a 100 size reel. It doesn't really matter, in my opinion. But a rod is going to make a huge difference in terms of whether you're even going to be able to set the hook on that fish or not.
And this isn't a shotgun round question, but this popped into my head. Are you more finesse or more power angler?
I'm more of a finesse guy, I think.
All right. I was figuring it made sense coming from a finesse angler, because power anglers like, give me a broomstick and a good reel, and I will throw my spinner bait or my chatter bait or my whatever all day long.
Hey, I tell you what, don't get me wrong. I love slinging a chatterbait. I love power fishing a jig. But I'm not the guy who only has one spinning rod. I've got 10 of them. So, yep, I'm that guy.
A true bass angler. Why do you have so many rods? Because damn it, if they're biting this color, I don't have to take the worm off of this one. I can just set it down and pick up the other one.
Exactly.
All right, in a 3-hour session, do you want to catch 5 2-pounders or 1 7-pounder?
1 7.
My man. And this is coming from a tournament angler, guys. See, all y'all that choose 5 2-pounders, you're wrong. You're wrong. 100%. You're wrong.
Yep.
Look,
you're wrong.
I went out 3 or 4 weeks ago now and caught a 6.5-pounder. We got 3 bites the whole day. That was the only fish we caught, and I lost one on a drop shot that I wish I could have seen it. It's a fish story. It was big because I've never had one pull drag on that combo on that drop shot that I called, but it wrapped me around 2 damn posts in the water and it got off, but it started singing, and right away the guy on the front of the boat put that thing on 10, and we were trying to get to it and it came off. But I'm telling you, I had jaws hooked. It was a world record. Probably wasn't a world record, but it was a big fish.
Yeah. In Minnesota.
Go ahead.
In Minnesota, we don't grow them that big, So our state record is 815. If I catch a 7-pounder, but if I catch a 7-pounder, I'm over the moon. My personal best is 6'10" twice.
Wow.
So if I were to catch a 7, I'd lose it. I could catch 1 7-pounder for the whole year. I'd be happy.
Do you ever target any other fish besides bass up in Minnesota? Do you go out and fish for? Now, y'all will call them pike. I call them jackfish. Any slender, slimy fish with teeth is a jackfish down here, but you're just strictly bass fishing.
Yeah.
What the hell do you do in the winter then? Do you not fish?
Yeah, we hunt.
Okay, there we go.
Our deer are a little bit bigger than your guys' deer.
So, yes, we ain't getting no deer conversations between Minnesotan deer and Carolinian deer. I fought fire with a couple guys from Minnesota, and they would always come down. They came down in late January to South Carolina, and they would bring all their deer down because they were down here for 4 months. And dude, we ate deer all damn spring because their deer's like 250 pounds. We're down here shooting 150-pound deer and be like, hell yeah, boy, we got a big one.
Yeah, golden retrievers.
You know what? What do you think a golden retriever would taste like a deer if it was out in the wild? If it was out in the wild, if it lived out in the wild its whole life and ate the same shit a deer ate, do you think it would taste the same?
I don't think so. I'd probably say it tastes a little bit tougher. I don't know.
Probably tastes like dog.
Probably tastes like dog.
Slow jams or hype music?
Slow jams.
Oh, my man. Okay. Old school R&B, mid-90s.
Yeah, 100%.
I got
mid-90s. That's my stuff.
All right. Have you ever eaten beaver?
I have not.
Oh, you're in Minnesota. You're like the beaver capital of the world, and you hadn't eaten beaver? No. And you hunt. You don't even fish in the wintertime. You got all those beaver swimming around, and they're so easy to kill because everything's iced up, but these little pockets where they come up and get their wood and stuff to make their huts.
Yeah.
You need to go shoot a beaver, clean it, and put it on the grill like you would a hog, and slow cook it. Delicious.
Really? Okay.
It is delicious. Do you eat largemouth bass?
Absolutely not.
What?
No, sir.
Never?
I have. It brought a tear to my eye.
Reluctantly.
Yeah.
Was it one that floated up at the boat ramp after the tournament? You're like, shit, I gotta eat it now.
No, it was one that a muskie swallowed as I was fighting him to the boat. Yeah.
That must have been a big ass muskie.
Yeah, it was a big one. Yeah.
Did you eat the muskie too?
No, I let him go.
Well, if you come down south and hang out with your cousins down here in Hickory, let me know and we'll have a fish fry and we'll eat some largemouth bass and some crappie and catfish.
Yeah, we'll do the crappies and catfish. We'll mix with some stripers too, but I might cry if I have a large.
You won't know the difference. I guarantee you 99% of people won't know the difference. All right, this is the whole podcast leads up to this one question. All right. We've been on here for 2 hours. I've kept you 30 minutes over your time limit. This is why we do this podcast, for this one question. And if you fuck this up, this is what sinks you to the dark waters or raises you to the serious angler. And I don't know why Alex says that, because Bailey has the second worst answer to this question ever. And it was just beat a week or two ago by somebody. Well, a few weeks ago, somebody said something else, and I'm not gonna help you out with this question. So every angler loves a good sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
What are your top 3 sandwich proteins?
Ooh, the first sandwich that comes to mind would be like a Philly cheesesteak.
Okay.
That sounds good.
A true Philly is ribeye. We got turkey breast. Okay.
Yep. Probably roast beef.
Okay. So, hey, all good, all perfect sandwiches. The Philly cheesesteak is kind of interesting. A lot of people say that, but if you get a Philly cheesesteak, you probably didn't get it before you launched. So it's a Philly cheesesteak from the day before. I've never asked this, but
Fair.
Do you put the Philly cheesesteak out on the boat in the summertime to heat up so it's a hot Philly cheesesteak again? Or do you keep it in the cooler and eat it cold?
Oh, no, I can't eat it cold.
So we're sitting it out on the kayak to warm up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
We got that cheese whiz has got to be warm. It can't be cold.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
Look,
exactly.
Those are great, safe answers. We won't pick on Bailey anymore because we had Zach. I don't know how you get the name Zach from Zeche, but anyway, I call him Zeche from Dark Horse Tackle, said black beans.
Oh, what?
Yeah, exactly. He didn't say bean burger. He just said black beans. So I imagine this guy out on the water just taking up a can of black beans and opening them up and just, pouring it out on a piece of loaf bread and putting another piece of loaf bread on top and eating black bean sandwich. I mean, I don't understand.
Oh, man.
And his celiac disease is not an excuse for that shitty answer on Bass and Bros. All right, T-Lo, anybody you want to shout out, whoever you want to shout out before we end this thing.
Well, I gotta give you guys some thanks and praise. You guys run a good show here. I had a great time. Or I should just say you, because we won't mention who didn't make it to the show. But
the short guy, Alex. Alex is only 3'12.5" tall.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's shorter than me.
Shorter than everybody who's been on this show.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate it. You guys make me feel right at home. It was a blast. And obviously you got to shout out to Omnia. Mm-hmm. They've been a great company to work for. And I see great things coming down in the near future for them. And so, that's about all, that's all I got, really.
Where can we find you on social media?
Yeah. So, Facebook, Instagram, Trever Lo Fishing, TREVORLO Fishing. And yeah, if you're on Omnia's socials, you'll probably see me tagged in there every now and then.
Mm-hmm. So. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. Again, when Alex is here, the podcast is shorter. Y'all know this. When we sign on and it's just me, this shit's going to be a little bit longer. That's just how it happens. That's why I'm called the jabber hammer, even though the hammer part doesn't really mean I catch big fish, but the jabber part is 100% correct. Thank y'all so much for listening. We appreciate you being here. Hey, T-Lo, hang on a few minutes when we end this in the green room. We'll talk to you for a second there too. And look, guys, hey, y'all go check out Omnia Fishing Premium Pro. This is not sponsored by no means, Y'all go check it out. That shit is awesome. I'm telling you. And if you fish around me, don't go check it out. But thank you for listening to Bass and Brews. Hell.